today and prepare for tomorrow. He calls on you to believe in the power of your imagination. Timidakulo welcomes you to a new day. Nigeria. Nigeria will be fine. It is our responsibility to make it fine. Nigeria is coming, but in a new form. A new mindset. A new structure. A new spirit. A great nation is coming to tell the world that the black man has the potential for greatness. Nigeria will fly. A new spirit, a new dawn. Hey you. It is your responsibility to make it fly. I can see the beautiful skies smiling at us. It is a beautiful day. The radio man is here. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmund Opilo.
In the global village of conflicting ideologies and complexities, understanding systems and schemes through awareness and social reconstruction becomes expedient.
They never told you how you offended them?
I'm not on trial, so I can't go before
Join the radio man, Edmond Obilo, on State Affairs for local and international politics, security, extensive economic analysis, interviews, and world power play.
Nigerians must choose the path they want to follow. Follow the same looters and sponsors of violence who control the political structures or encourage the formation of a new leadership team.
Be a global citizen and join the radio revolution on State Affairs. State Affairs with Edmond Obilo. Radio just got deeper.
The love we share, each other's neighborhood, extension of love. It's a community. Yes, we are challenged. That is true. No nation that is not currently challenged, one way or the other. But it is with God-given talent and resolve of all of us to say that we will overcome the challenges and turn it to prosperity by the grace of God. We will. We will turn it around. There's a very good bright light at the end of the tunnel. And believe it also that somewhere in the eyes of the storm is some corner of calmness and joy for those who we serve with faith and determination.
That is the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, speaking to religious and traditional rulers who came to break the Ramadan fast with him. Tinubu was inspiring there. Tinubu looked at the future and came with words of hope. I felt his message. The reason I'm bringing it to you. Yes, times are hard. Events are not friendly. But the worst thing that can happen to us at this time is hopelessness. You will be depressed and you will be broken. Wherever that message of hope comes from, listen to it. It is coming from the president. I'm listening to it. Okay, listen to this part of the speech from the president.
No matter what degree of lamentation is, my own is don't give up. As long as we don't, as long as we are determined to change our country, it is our own to change. Nobody, all these things, America, Britain, France, and others, they can't love us better than ourselves. And if we get there, some of you are going to, Holy Promulgation in Mecca, and you see the glittering of light and everything. Yes, we have it, we can do it. You go to Dubai, you see the glittering and all of that. Yes, we can do it. We can drive on good roads like they have on their infrastructure. We can have education that is first class. Nigerians are respected. We give you the assurance as a government that you will be our priority.
That is President Bola Tinubu on Thursday. I share his optimism. I do. And not because he has said it. I have always shared that optimism. Because whenever I travel, I ask myself, what is the big deal in having good roads, beautiful cities? I always ask myself, why can't we? And while he was speaking, I took time to listen to him. I was looking into his eyes. Saying, yes, these are normal things. If you go to the street of Saigon at night, it's even finer than some European cities in Vietnam. So what is the big deal? Why can't Ibadan look like Dubai? What's the big deal? Reconstruction work is going on Ring Road. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you for the work. But Mr. Governor, I thought this would have been an opportunity to modernize the whole of that Ring Road and make it look like Europe. Mr. Governor, I thought that was this opportunity create walkways that look like Europe. Because Ring Road is a center of business, a center of entertainment. I thought this would be, because perhaps I'm still waiting to see what they would do to the walkways. Recreate Ring Road to look like cities, roads in France. Let's start with one road. Mr. Governor, I thought we would do that. Perhaps you would do it. Create walkways that are standard. And nobody would dare to go and put his or her car on that walkway. You see car dealers selling on the walkway. They've blocked all the walkways on Ring Road. They have cars, selling cars on the walkway. No. We have to begin to recreate our cities. So when Tinubu made that point, I felt it. I said, okay, Tinubu, Can he? It's not just even a Tinubu matter. Tinubu cannot come to Oyo State and be fixing the walkway. It is she. It is she. Let's have a part of Ibadan that looks like Europe. And that is why I have this dream of what I call like a concentric circle. You know, from Challenge, you develop it, go round 110, J. Allen, Okebola, Okeado, come round. We just had that circle that looks like Europe. Then use that business district as the center, that Dugbe business district. We can. I mean, even finer than European cities. Doha is finer than London now. London is an old city. Doha is a new city. Dubai. Even go to Saudi Arabia. We go on pilgrimage, don't we? When you go to Saudi Arabia on pilgrimage, what do you see? You see light, like Tinubu is saying. We can. You go to Dubai. You see the Museum of the Future. We can. We have the power. Let's listen to that Tinubu.
And you see the glittering of light and everything. Yes, we have. Nigerians are respected. We'll give you the assurance as a government that you will be our priority.
Are you listening to the president? Drop your bias and listen. All I'm asking, like I've talked about a circle, Ring Road, Okebola. We create another circle, Bodija, to the governor's house. Take a part of Gate, Cam. Create another circle, modernize it. So we can create like 4 circles over a period of 4 years. And they will become templates for modernization. Everything within that circle must meet certain standard. In fact, some kind of micra will not go near those circles. Some kind of micra will not move in. Okada will not move in those circles. We modernize them with modern transport system. Good buses. Face by face, and we modernize our societies. Now, I'm happy your state is thinking tourism. There's a lot of money we can make from tourism. We can attract billions into Oyo State through tourism. And I'm happy that the state government is holding an international conference on tourism next month. It's a big deal. And if we must attract tourism, we must improve our infrastructure. You still go to Challenge, people are selling in the walkway. I don't know why Mr. Governor is still allowing that. You cannot give a facelift to Challenge and then allow people to deface it on the name of they want to trade. Our society you don't see traders in the middle of Saigon or in Doha. They are human beings. Our people must also learn, move into the market. Why do you even go there to buy? Why are you buying? You can move into the scout camp market. When we modernize an area, we sanction people who break the orders. And I know Mr. Governor is getting ready to do that. And when he starts, nobody should complain. We must have beautiful cities. If given the chance, many Nigerians would trade on the aeroplane tarmac. Listen, the economic hardships that have gripped our country can cast long shadows. But in the face of adversity, let us unite in the spirit of resilience and hope. I'm re-echoing Tinubu's message. We have gone through a lot. And the pains of insecurity, hunger, unemployment have tested our mettle in ways we never imagined. Economic uncertainties, rising prices, and financial struggles have cast a heavy cloud over many households. It is easy to feel weighed down by the burdens of the time. But as we move from this day to the next day, let's carry with us the lessons learned and the strength gained from facing these challenges. I tell you today that in the face of economic adversity, our greatest asset is our collective strength. Nigerians have always been known for their resilience, their ability to weather storms with an unyielding spirit. Let us draw on that resilience, knowing that it is in the toughest times that our true strength shines through. Have no fear. Do not break down in despair. As we move on, let us consciously choose positive thoughts. Occupy your mind with reasons that are positive. Why do you have to do this? Positive thinking is not about ignoring the challenges, no. It is about facing them with the mindset that sees opportunities in every difficulty. Each day is a new opening, and our thoughts paint the picture of our reality. By embracing positivity, we empower ourselves to find innovative solutions, to persist with faith, to persist when faced with setbacks, and to foster a sense of hope that can transform our lives. I hope President Tinubu will imbibe his own message. I hope those around him will imbibe his own message. I hope his message will come with a force of action that can birth a new dawn. He that comes to equity must come with clean hands. I hope the president understands. In that message, the president also called on religious leaders to watch their words when they are on the pulpit. Let's go back to the president talking to preachers to watch their sermons.
The love of the nation is in your hand. The prayer is in your mind. Pray for our country. Educate our children. All the members of our church and mosque, the sermon we give to them is important. We don't condemn your own nation. I'm a Yoruba man, and our father will say, no matter how slippery the bottom of your child, leave the bead there. Leave the bead there. This is your country. Don't condemn it in sermons. Don't abuse the nation. Leadership are meant for changes. Yes, this leader is bad. Fine. Wait until it's time to renew his mandate and say no. But don't condemn your country. Don't curse Nigeria. It's a beautiful land. Land of prosperity.
I agree with him. Don't curse Nigeria. Don't curse the country. I've made that point. Is Tinubu philosophizing? What has come on Tinubu? I'm impressed with this speech. But Tinubu must back it with action. And I must commend the government. At least the escalating dollar rate is coming down. We need to push it down. Down, Mr. President. Before I will clap for you. Take it below where you met it. Then I'll say improvement. Let's bring it down. It is killing businesses. It is destroying international trade. Mr. President, back this action, this message with action. The senators must listen. The members of the House of Reps must listen. Akpabio must check his tongues. The message must penetrate, but it must be backed with action. Tinubu's message. Yes. Yes. While we may not have control over every aspect of the economy, we do have control over our minds, our actions, and choices. Focus on what you can control, your work ethic, your dedication, your willingness to adapt. It's not just about Tinubu or Seyi Makinde. It's about you. It's about us. It is the collective will of a people that builds a country, but leadership is key. Last week I was going to say that Tinubu lacks the capacity for sober reflection. But after listening to him on Thursday, I said in my diary, perhaps Tinubu has discovered his capacity for sober reflection. If you listen to that speech, is a president that is soberly reflecting. So the ability to carry the country on a journey of sober reflection will determine how good a leader he is. Because at this time, we need strong leadership in every sphere. In the media, in the education sector, in the churches and the mosque, especially in the churches and the mosque. The bane of Nigeria's underdevelopment is also tied to the church and the mosque because they wield a lot of control on the minds of the people. The power they wield sometimes cannot be compared to the power that a governor wields. You can see people crawling because the preacher have said crawl. You know what that power means? So when a country is in danger, those who control the churches and the mosque are also guilty. Hello, friends. As we talk about mind re-engineering, we must talk about structural re-engineering of the Nigerian state. It is key, it is important that at this time in our national life, we must accept that re-engineering the state in spirit must also be accompanied by re-engineering the state in structure. They must go together. I hope the president understands. So, let's bring back Emeka Anyaoku. In 2016, Emeka Anyaoku was in Ibadan. He delivered a powerful speech. He is a former Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations. His voice echoes redemption. He delivered the speech about 4 years. Did I say 4? How time flies. 8 years ago. Just like yesterday. 2016. I was in that hall listening. Wow. 8 years ago. Chief Emeka Anyaoku on State Affairs.
It is an incontrovertible fact that Nigeria was making more progress in national development in the early days of its independence when it practiced a truer federalism with 4 regions as federating units that had substantial powers devolved to them from the center. Those were the days of significant exports of groundnuts, tinor, and very high quality leather marketed abroad as Moroccan leather from the northern region, of cocoa from the western region, of rubber and timber from the Midwest region, and of palm produce and coal from the then eastern region of Nigeria. There were also the days of healthy competition between the regions, with the regional premiers, Sir Ahmadu Bello in the north, Chief Obafemi Awolowo in the west, Dr. Michael Obara in the east, and Chief Dennis Osadebe in the Midwest. All of them embarking on and delivering manifest macroeconomic, socio-economic projects. Today, the relatively non-viable 36 states have become so economically handicapped that most of them now find it difficult even to pay the salaries of their civil servants and the minimum wage of 18,000 agreed with the federal government. Many of the states, I dare say, are hovering on the brink of bankruptcy. The current 8th National Assembly has decided to resume the attempt to review and amend the country's extant constitution. There is a universal recognition within the country that the existing constitution is neither a constitution that derived its legitimacy from we the people of Nigeria, nor a constitution that provides adequate basis for tackling effectively our country's two major challenges, namely socioeconomic development and enduring political stability. I urge the 8th National Assembly to take this opportunity to effect a more fundamental change in the country's governance architecture, rather than stop at tinkering with the edges of the Constitution. In this age of rising global move away from the use of fossil fuel, and particularly in this period of continuing fall in the price of crude oil, our Constitution must enable the country to plan and pursue a non-crude oil-based economic development. It must also address the issue of concentration of power at the center, which is what fuels the destabilizing competition for the control of the center between the country's diverse ethnic and religious groups. Instead of the present structure of 36 economically unviable states with concentrated political power at the center, the National Assembly should convert the existing 6 geopolitical zones, which have been recognized and are being used for a number of political decisions and actions. They should convert them into more viable federating units of a truly federal republic of Nigeria. The 36 states can be retained as development zones within the regions, but without full administrative paraphernalia. And it will be up to the 6 regions to consider and meet any demands for the creation of new development zones within them. It is indeed inexcusable that in a country that is endowed with so many untapped solid minerals and such vast arable land for significant agricultural production, that these resources have remained inadequately exploited for the benefits of its citizens, of whom no less than 70% still live in massive poverty. As more viable units for planning and attracting investments in larger development projects, the 6 regions will facilitate the necessary shift from the present philosophy and reliance by the 36 states on the sharing of the national cake to focusing on production and internally generated revenue within the regions. And in addition, internal security and crime control can be more effectively managed by the people in the regions who know and are more familiar with the local environment. I am, of course, realistic enough to acknowledge that the present structure of 36 state unitary federalism has acquired groups of people with deeply entrenched vested interests, especially in the executives and legislatures of the federal and the state governments. And therefore, that the change which I'm advocating here cannot come easily. However, if the call for restructuring is widely made and sustained by the media, by the opinion makers, and by the general citizenry acting through their political parties and their civil societies, I believe that, aided by the fact that there is widespread recognition that the country is not performing optimally under the present governance arrangements, that those with vested interest in the existing structure will eventually be persuaded to cooperate.
Yes, Emeka Anyoku in 2016 in Ibadan. Long ago. He has made his point. I like his point. What about you? You can also modify his point. But the important thing is that we need a new governance architecture. This present one is not working. It is slowing us down. No time. We need to fly. Fly, 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 Nigeria. I'll be back after this break. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station.
Ibadan, bringing you the concert of concerts with a lineup of your favorite artists and the experience of your dreams.
Playgrounds of elites and geniuses, dotted with hidden mysteries in shelf, lying on every side of the walls, arranged like a long train crossing the Pacific Ocean, and ready to be consumed by human intellect. These elites and geniuses' rights not to be stalked but to be consumed. How can I be heard when I cannot make a noise? Liboni sorosoke wa. How can I be made known when face is masked? My golden pen was laid to rest when readers turned away. To them, reading is junk, never a fun. How can I labor in vain when efforts in pain disdain? My head, full of pregnancy, all aborted. I laid to rest. The thoughts I conceived were born to born. The world turned and left in twilights. The expression of our thought was not to be sold in exchange, but was a template for passion revelation. The burning zeal made visible, so motivating and educational, despite the wavering and dusty memories of their repository. The zeal keeps reigniting every new page and stanza. We were left aside. We hung our pen. Many reports of deeds, many accounts of disdain, many stories to write. When we get to where we will be rewarded. I move to the north, and I hear the cracking of guns and sounds of engines, just to waste the whole nation. I move down to the east, and I find them idolizing money and forgetting about the shelf. I run down to the west, a wasteland of merrymakers, sitting in their comfort and waiting for Owambe. Ejeka dide gbogbo Africa. Be near Africa. Stand up, Africa, and let us go back to that beginning, when these elites and geniuses never needed money to be their motivation, to motivate, to galvanize, and to direct the human race. In the beginning.
let's talk about the science of learning in the age of new media. But the focus is the challenge for Africa. That's the focus of this edition of the program. So I want to look at that main theme from different dimensions. The first dimension is what I have called the science of learning in the age of new media. Why did I say the science of learning? Here, I'm going to use nature to make some statements. We are in the age of information outburst. If you go online now, almost everyone is a content producer. Everyone has got something to say. If you go on X, you go on Instagram, on Facebook, we are talking, we are negotiating. There's a lot of information, and if you are not careful, you will be lost in the express road of information. I call it information outburst. And sometime in the outburst, you would find in-depth media outcomes. And in-depth media outcomes is necessary for national development. As we talk about outburst of information, you would also realize that millions are consuming the information. So I can say there is that online hunger for information. And this has opened the media of the future to the advantage or disadvantage of misinformation. Why advantage or disadvantage? It depends on where you are coming from. To the man who is misinforming, he hopes to gain some advantages. For the one who has been misinformed, he has fallen to the disadvantages of misinformation. It is an all-comers affair. And when it's an all-comers affair, it renders unedited narratives. Are you with me? Raw in form, as caustic as ever. There's a lot of insult online. There's a lot of attacks. It is caustic. But you imagine a world without phones, without television, radio, newspaper, and social media. What would the world be like? Would you enjoy such a world? The distances will be obvious, and it will look as if man has returned to its primitive state. Would that be possible? That will return to the primitive state. No phones, no television. It is due to the innovative mindset of man that society continues to witness creations to better the person, the society. So with these platforms of communication, the world becomes a small place as borders are broken with fast-speed internet, causing cultures to clash in ways never seen before. As the 21st century flattens the world rapidly, media power becomes decentralized as citizens tell their stories and debate the quality of messages. That is why it is an engaging word. Let's engage. I'm engaging your thoughts on this edition of the program. Engage me too by leaving your comments or by even calling in. The word has never Emeka Anyoku talked about restructuring there. If you've seen this book, This House of Oduduwa Must Not Fall, written by Sir Olaniwun Ajayi, you would understand why restructuring is key. He talks about restructuring. This book tells us where we are coming from. On page 104 of the book, Olaniwun says, "Indeed, as the time went by, anti-South feelings were growing, and these unpleasant feelings were clearly expressed during Sir Tafawa Balewa's contribution to the debate on a motion in the Legislative Council in 1948, during which he affirmed the northern feelings." So he quotes Tafawa Balewa here, saying, this is Balewa speaking in 1948, "Many Nigerians deceive themselves by thinking that Nigeria is one, particularly some of the press people." Balewa continues, "This is wrong. I'm sorry to say that this presence of unity is artificial and it ends outside the chamber. The southern tribes who are now pouring into the north in ever-increasing number are more or less domiciled here, but they do not mix with the northern people. And we in the north look upon them as invaders." Olaniwun in his book quoted Tafawa Balewa in 1948. That was Balewa in 1948. So Olaniwun says, in spite of the various factors for the delayed awareness of the North in the great future of Nigeria, having regard to the titanic struggle put forth by African leaders, the British saw it fit to accord preeminent place to the North in the scheme of things. For one thing, in the affairs of its colonies, the British government was a slave to its naked national interest. There was a vogue in the colonial office at the time for federations as a device for achieving stability in plural societies to which Britain transferred power. In the case of Nigeria, Olaniwun Ajayi in his book says the existing regions were retained in spite of the annoying and unacceptable disparity in size, partly because the colonial officials working in the north, who foresaw the political advantage that would accrue to the northern region, were a very effective lobby in Whitehall, and partly, no doubt, because the British government felt that a Nigerian government controlled by conservative northern politicians would be more stable and favorable to British interests. Little wonder, therefore, that northern Nigeria found itself from the very beginning of Nigeria's self-government in the front burner of Nigeria's political power and control. It is therefore not surprising that the caliphate seeks, by all artifice and ingenious devices, every means to hold maulishly fast to power. I just read from page 104 to 105 in Pa Olaniwun Ajayi's book, This House of Oduduwa Must Not Fall. Why am I talking about this book? The Baba looked at Nigeria from 1914 and then made an argument in favor of the House of Oduduwa, what can bring progress to Nigeria, restructuring he called for. So I recommend this book to you. Read it. You know, Baba left us with 2 books on this subject. Did I say 2? About 3 of them. Nigeria, Africa's Failed Asset is one. You can get this book on udarabooks.com, or you can contact me on my WhatsApp 080 999 18449. 080 999 18449. You can get this book if you are interested, and I want you to be interested. I want to also raise some of the fundamental points that Olaniwun Ajayi raised in his work. Perhaps Olaniwun was inspired by Awo. You know, he was a core Awoist. He loved Awo. They understood the game of progress for society. In this book, The Travails of Democracy and the Rule of Law, written by Obafemi Awolowo, you would see the need for a redefinition of the Nigerian state. I recommend this book to you, The Travails of Democracy and the Rule of Law, written by Obafemi Awolowo. Adventures in Power, Book 2. There was supposed to be Book 3, but I think Awolowo did not finish the book before he died. So there is Book 1 and 2. And this Book 2 is politically spiritual. It is philosophical. Here, Awolowo explains some of the events that truncated the democracy of the First Republic, and we still have many of those issues with us. I recommend this book to you. The Travails of Democracy. You'll get it on udarabooks.com, or you contact me on my WhatsApp number. This house has fallen. Kalmaya. This house has fallen. Nigeria in crisis. Have you read this book? Okay. You have to read this book. How often do you read? Do you open your mind to new knowledge? We'll talk about reading at some point. You know, for a progressive society, we must read. It's not negotiable. Leaders must read. Leaders must be knowledgeable. They must have hands on the history of their country, not just like mere lookers. They must be grounded in history and politics. Not just the physical politics. They must have the understanding of the philosophical aspect of politics. It is that philosophical aspect of politics that leads to progressive physical politics. If you read From Third Word to First by Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, You will understand why great leaders are philosophers. Without the power of great thinking, deep thinking, leadership will not achieve anything. They will construct one or two roads and then will continue in poverty. Before you know it, the road is broken. No management of the structure. Philosophical leaders look at the future and begin to plan for it. They redefine the structures of the state. They redefine the mindset. That is why I'm happy that Governor Shea Makinde has initiated a mind rebuilding agenda for the people of Oyo State. He will sign it into law soon. We need to rebuild the minds of our people. We need to redefine our mindset. The leaders, they have poor mindset. The followers have poor mindset. We need to do that deliberately. We need to set up the framework. And Governor Makinde is setting up that framework for the rebuilding of the mindset. What Awolowo called ideological reappraisal. Talking about redefining the state. Dare Babanrisa is a philosophical journalist, intense in his approach, intense in his writing. Dare Babanrisa is the author of The House of War. He is the chairman and editor-in-chief of Gaskia Media Limited. He worked for Newswatch, one of the founders of Tell magazine. In my recent chat with him, we looked at the architecture of the Nigerian state and called for renewal. Mr. Babanrisa, the Yoruba nation. There's something unique about the Yoruba nation. That beauty of the Yoruba nation. Is that beauty still authentic? Because under Awolowo, you could feel the beauty. Do we still have that kind of beauty?
A nation is a dynamic entity. It cannot stay on a single spot. If you stay on a single spot, it means that you are actually receding. So there have been a lot of development. You can see wherever you look, you can see that we have succeeding in building cities, institutions, and other things that can make you proud. Yes.
Are you sure things that can make me proud? In Yoruba nation, you are well traveled. You know, recently I was in Doha to study Doha. I discovered that within a 15-year period, if you see what they did with Doha.
In comparative analysis.
Yes.
Yes. If you compare to where we are and where we are coming from and the exuberances we have had, you will know that despite everything, we have made some significant progress.
From Ibadan to Ekiti, look at the road.
So roads are infrastructures.
Yes.
And we believe that if a proper restructuring is done and people are in charge of their environment, then they will know what to do. When Papa Jackson was ill, and Shibolage was always visiting him in Ile-Ife, he was reporting back to us that Papa Jackson was worried that are we still going to get what we have said we should look for? A single Yoruba nation that will be under one single government. Because the Bolage generation and Papa Jackson too, in 1975, General Murtala Mohammed came to power and he said he wanted to create new states. And all the politicians wanted new states. But their leader said, no, we don't need new states. that there was no scientific reason why a single nation should have more than one government. But they had a meeting, I think in Ibadan here, and there were so many of them. And Chief Awolowo wanted to concede to them that, okay, if you want us to go and have your states, but in 20 years or 50 years' time, you will know that I am right and you are wrong.
He said that?
Yes. And Chief Ige said, I think our leader was right. Now, looking at everything. So that was why they were very keen on restructuring. They believe that the states are a reality that we have to deal with, but we need to create new structures to allow new aspirations that will allow us to fulfill what is expected of the Yoruba nation.
You know, in a State of the Nation released by Afenifere, the group called for restructuring again, calling for a new security architecture. What picture is Afenifere looking at? What are the details?
Maybe we should wait until the oath, because there's a committee working on it.
Okay.
But for me, I believe that we don't need more than one government in Yoruba land.
So you want us to go back to the regional system?
Yes.
Does Tinubu understand that?
How would I be speaking for Tinubu? I don't work for him.
No, you know him.
I know
you
him.
know him.
I know him, but I cannot speak on for his
He visited Afenifere leadership recently.
Yes, he did.
And Afenifere put that demand before him.
Yes, they did. But now it has to be properly written out so that people know what to really want.
Can he go for it? Does he have the temperament to restructure?
I believe if this country is going to have a good future, if this country is going to make proper progress, instead of spending all our money on keeping public office holders, we need to think seriously about a new kind of country. You have, during the First Republic, the federal cabinet was only 16 ministers. Now you have a cabinet of 48 ministers. And so many other people who have to be there, special advisors, senior special assistants, and so many other things. I think the current system may not be good enough, because the people we are copying, they are actually very seriously different from us. America is different from Nigeria. America is not a multi-ethnic group. America is a country of immigrants, people coming from. So when you get to New York is not an English state. There are many people who are in New York. You cannot. So Nigeria is closer to Switzerland or to the United Kingdom or to India that are multi-ethnic group societies. And we should look at those places and see what we can copy from them and create something original for ourselves.
A parliamentary system.
It may not necessarily whatever it is, but it must be original to ourselves. That is to reduce wastage, to make government more effective. Let me give you a clear example. In 1960, the government of Western Region decided to establish a university. And by 1962, the university took off. It was then called the University of Ife, now called Obafemi Awolowo University.
You attended that university?
I was there.
Good.
Before moving to the University of Lagos. Now, this is 2024. Is there any university that has been created by successful government, succession governments since that time, that could be compared to the one that was created so many years ago?